All right, everybody, welcome out to another episode of Windshield Time at Mountainland Supply. I'm Joey. I'm here with Brandon, our CEO.
Hey, everyone.
We are here with Spencer Shorts, of course.
Hello.
And Kill the Mic on yourself. And today we're joined by James Wankier.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, what's your middle name? Is it James?
No, it's Francis.
Francis.
Yeah, Francis.
Francis.
So
Did you
now
have somebody in your life?
I watched a podcast not too long ago where somebody said they hated that name.
That was probably me. I don't know.
I don't know. It
Francis?
was. You'll have to dig that
No,
up.
somebody had a middle name of Francis.
Yeah, was there somebody else that had that?
Yeah, and then they said they didn't like their middle name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it was one of us.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, it was with Quinn, wasn't it?
Was it? It might have been Quinn. Yeah, but anyways,
don't
I thought, man, if I ever get in there and I got to say my name's Francis, and they're gonna.
Frank. He's Frank.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
he's
then
Frank.
I said, is Frank short for Francis or something? I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so.
Oh.
But yeah.
I
No.
say a lot of crap that I end up regretting at some
Yeah.
point.
So my dad's name was Francis. So I was
Okay.
named after my dad.
I think Frank's a strong name.
It is a strong name.
One of my there was a guy who lived by us when I was growing up, and his name was Francis. I guess his grandson-in-law works for us now.
Yeah.
But he was a stud. He taught me how to fish.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, he's a good guy then.
Yeah, he taught me how to
So
fish.
there's a funny
Good dude.
story. Maybe it's not a funny.
It'd be
story, but
nice if all Francis's like taught us how to fish.
Gave their secrets away.
Yeah, that's right. So
Jimothy.
so here's the story of so my dad is the youngest of his family, and my grandmother she was older when she was pregnant with him, and so they really had questions on whether the pregnancy was even going to stick, right? And well, she goes into labor. Of course, this is in Levan. They have a midwife in Levan, and but they had some complications. Dad was born, but there were some things. So they call the doctor. The doctor comes from Nephi, and he walks in. He checks out my dad, and he turns to my grandpa and he says, "So we need to go to Nephi. You need to come with me." So they grab my dad. They jump in the car. They're headed to the hospital. While they're going to Nephi, the doctor turns to my grandpa and he says, "So this boy's not going to make it. Have you given him a name?" And my grandpa says, "Well, no, haven't." And he goes, "Well, let's give him a name right now." And the doctor's name was Francis Beckstead.
Oh, really?
And so my grandpa gave my dad the name of Francis. They got to Nephi. Dad pulled through, and the rest is history.
Really?
And so now, so Francis
Well,
is a strong name.
That's a straight.
Yeah, I like
that's
that.
that's a
Yeah.
fantastic name.
Yeah. So anyway, it's kind of a cool story.
Yeah, I like
Very
that.
cool.
Yeah.
That's way good.
So those who don't know what you do here,
Yeah.
Jim, why don't you give them a little synopsis?
Okay. So I am director over Pump and Drilling Supply. We do all things pumps, and that includes drilling, not to be confused with the directional side that the utility guys do. We do the supplies for vertical drilling, which would be all water well, environmental exploration, monitoring, that kind of stuff. So geothermal falls into that too that we do. So we do the supplies for those. But then on the pump side of things, we do the one thing that we do in pump and drilling, I guess that we keep in-house or just in our vertical is the groundwater stuff. That's the water well stuff that we do, and we do it very, very well. We got the best guys out there. There's no two ways about that. But we also do turf irrigation and ag irrigation and plumbing and waterworks, wastewater, all that kind of recirc pumps. And so they all kind of touch all of the other verticals. And so to the other verticals, we try to be a support to that, to be able to bring different product lines, different pricing, bring some knowledge to it, and to kind of support those salesmen and those sales efforts in those other verticals. When it comes to groundwater, we kind of keep that in-house because it's just a horse of a different color, and but we do it really well.
So when you're saying that we keep it in house, there's a little bit of a tension in the market where historically a pipe or a well driller would buy directly from a distributor.
Correct.
So some of our competition in the marketplace are distributors that would normally sell to a wholesaler like Mountainland Supply.
Yeah.
They would also sell directly to a customer and end user like a drilling company.
And that makes them not a distributor.
Exactly. So there's a little bit of this balancing act that you and the rest of your department have to play, and that ends up, causing a little bit of headaches sometimes.
Yeah.
But we've tried really hard over the last 7 years.
Yeah, just about 7 years. Yeah.
Wow.
So almost 7 years next
7
spring. We've tried really hard to kind of create those lines and those boundaries so that everybody feels comfortable in their situation, so that a well driller feels comfortable buying from us, that we're not going to sell to a homeowner and cut them out.
Right.
And also that another distributor or another wholesaler like Mountainland Supply feels comfortable buying from us, that we're going to treat them fairly, because we need and want both of those channels of business.
Absolutely. And that's been a challenge. Really hard the first couple of 3 years. But I think we've done a really good job of that so far. And I think the one thing that we get most attention over is because that is that's never really been done successfully before. When we first started the whole pump and drilling idea with Mountainland, we were never really credited to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
Kind of like, good luck, fellas.
Yeah.
Because that's never been done before. But we were able to do it, and I'll tell you why. That we were able to do it because of the people that's here.
Yeah.
Mountainland is different as well. It's not the same old. It's not the cookie cutter kind of setup. And everybody's engaged. Everybody's involved. Everybody wants to see success. And success, the dollar signs are a byproduct of success. So success isn't measured by those. Success is an internal thing. And when we get communication and we break down those barriers and we knock down those fences, all of a sudden things start to just become fluid. And we set out to do that. And for the most part, that's happening. It's crazy to see that we can function as a full functioning distributor for our customer and also be able to sell products to our competitors and maintain a relationship there. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see it happen.
Yeah.
I think that's really a byproduct of you, though, Jim. I mean, if you get down to it and you think about it, but you're accrediting the people, and I totally agree with you on that. But from the get-go, from putting this all together, I mean, this was kind of your baby at the very, from your brainchild of just taking this to the next level and doing it this way. And even though you were told, no, it's not going to work. No, I think we can do this. And I agree with the right culture that we had and the right setup that we had, we were able to do it. But without you, it would never have happened. And I think that's, just being here when it first started, and me being in the finance role and being the skeptic that, no, this isn't going to work. And why are we wasting our money on this and our efforts? Let's put it into something else. But just seeing how you've responded and how you've responded to the critics, but also internally getting everybody in the right places, rowing in the same direction. And we talk about breaking down barriers. I mean, I would tell you that you've been the champion of really trying to break down those barriers internally to make sure that everybody understands and everybody feels involved with it. So I would say that we wouldn't see the success. And I think, Joe, you would probably on the same page. We wouldn't see the success that we've had if Jim Wankier wasn't at, putting this together for us.
Well, and we knew that. Almost 7 years ago. Well, almost 8 years ago.
Yeah, really.
Because I approached you a year prior to you coming over.
You did.
And we talked about it, and Jim told us, no, don't do it right now, because there was some things moving in the marketplace that we needed to watch fall out in order to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And that's very complicated, but we'll just simplify it that way and reduce it down. But, we knew that we couldn't do this without somebody like you, and you being the only person that we knew like you. We waited.
Lucky me.
We waited because we couldn't do it on our own.
Yeah.
And not only couldn't we have built it out, but we couldn't have navigated it because we had no credibility.
Yep.
We had no credibility with the well drilling community. And really, we leaned on you and some of the other guys that you brought over with you to offer us that credibility and to lend that to us in order for us to prove that we would do what we said we were going to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's you talked about the proof in the pudding a few minutes earlier. That's really what it is. We had to prove to those people that when we say that we're going to do something, we will do it, if we slip up, we'll quickly repair it and continue to move forward.
Sure.
And Jim, you talk about it in the market, in the industry, his name,
It's powerful.
he's like the rock star within the pump and drilling world. Right?
Well, to some people.
I was going to say, I was thinking in
Certain
my
other
mind, I was
people.
like, he's probably the most loved and the most wanted man.
There's some blood money on his head.
or maybe hated in some degree.
within the industry because we've been wildly successful because of you, and people see that, and I think people get jealous and they want to be a part of that.
Well, thanks for that. I'm pretty humbled about all that. Thank you so much. I think there's some keys to that though, and it comes trust. Trust is a big word, and we incorporate trust in everything that we do. And it's not that just my coworkers trust me; it's that they need to know that I trust them.
Yeah.
And it's similar to the same way here. It was really nice to be able to come in when I started, and I trusted Mountainland to say, hey, they're going to allow this to happen. They're gonna open these doors. But at the same time, I felt trusted, that you trusted me that I was going to be able to do that. And I took that seriously. That was some accountability to that. And so I didn't want to let anybody down. At the same time, though, for years, I was the mechanic, right? That's what I did. I started I actually started as a stock boy, and mechanic that was at the time fixing pumps, he was going back to Kennecott, and he asked me if I was interested in the job. So I took it. And, well, they gave it to me, I should say. I begged for it, and then they gave it to me. And I was like 18
Yeah.
and didn't know nothing. But from that day on, for the next probably 20 years of my career, that's what I did. So when I evolved into breaking out of the shop and I started doing sales and started having some customer relations, I was seeing guys that I had known for a long, long time, but they just didn't know me in a sales function.
Yeah.
But when I would get out there and they'd say, well, doggone it, I'm having problems with this pump, I would say, well, let's go take a look at it. And so we would tear those pumps apart. We would check those panels out. We would program drives. That's what I did. And I think that was, wow, this is Jim that used to fix all my stuff, and he still fixes all my stuff. And now I feel like I want to buy stuff from him. And that was just a trust and relationship.
In a simple way of saying it, in sales, you call that a value add.
Yeah. Yep.
You were adding value to every sale that you had.
Yeah. But it's only valuable if it's valuable to the customer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
When did you switch over to sales?
I would say that's probably been 2014, I think, 2014, 2013.
Okay. So I remember back in the day, I'd say this a lot, when I worked at Sprinkler World, I remember when we had issues, we would bring them up to you.
Yeah.
Because you were the guy. Like Kelly, I remember you'd be like, Jim will take care of us. Like, just take it up to Jim, And we used to always take them up to you. And I don't think you remember me, but I think we've met. I think I remember meeting you once or twice.
Yeah, you mentioned that. And but I just always remember the customer, wow, this is Sprinkler World, or this is
Well, you probably remember the pump more than you remember the person.
Yeah, I have a personal relationship with those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But interesting enough, I to kind of maybe give you some history on how I got started in that. When I was in high school, me and high school didn't get along very good, but I had a buddy whose brother knew a guy that did repair work, and so he got a job there. And I remember we would slough school, we would go over to this guy's shop, and we would drink coffee and do all the things that would feel like we were grown-ups. And I developed a really good friendship. That guy was like a brother. He kind of stepped up and was a brother. But that guy was Richard Stevens. Mm-hmm. So I met Richard Stevens in 1986, and it was about a year later. I got married and was really needing a job bad, and Richard called me and gave me a job. So I went to work for him in 1987, and it was.
For those of you not tracking along, Richard Stevens was the owner of Stevens Electric Motor that we, as Mountainland, acquired several years ago.
Yeah.
And Jim and Richard's relationship is really what led to that. Yep. And now that made it so that we can service our own motors in-house.
Yeah.
We can break down a motor, we can rewind it, and we can really, from soup to nuts, we can completely fix your pump issues.
Yeah, that was a missing piece in the cog, and that we needed to be able to provide that. And now that's going to expand to Nephi, so that we have the equipment ready in Nephi.
Yeah.
Didn't that also bring on some, what is it, like a certified warranty repair?
Yeah.
because we had that as
with
well.
the acquisition.
Yeah, because of that and just everything else that we
Factory
had. But
authorized
Factory
service.
authorized.
Yes.
That's what.
Yeah,
service.
so we were able to pick up a lot of that. We also were able to get re-registered with ESA, the Electrical Apparatus Service Association. So we joined that again. Richard was a part of that years ago, but had pulled out. But we got accepted into that really easy, and because of that status, that opened a lot of doors to be able to do the warranty service and gave us a lot of credibility. We were trying to get, for GE Motors, for instance, we were trying to get GE vertical hollow shaft motors, the big guys. And they told us pound sand, I don't know how many times, but I called them up one day through Matt Dawson, who had a relationship there out of Phoenix. And so Matt got me in touch with those guys, and we start talking. As soon as we mentioned motor shop, warranty capabilities, and the things that we're doing on the electrical side of stuff, it was a slam dunk. Next day, we had GE Motors.
Yeah.
And
It's
so,
amazing.
yeah, it's been good.
It
It's
opens
really
up a lot of doors.
It has. It
Yeah.
has. Yep. And great people there.
Yeah.
Great people.
Oh, it's amazing.
But that's the foresight that Jim's had. To
Well,
be able
it
to
was
kind of help us navigate through this.
To
You know what I
build
mean?
a holistic service model, and to where now we're not just fixing when a motor breaks, we're actually fixing their systems so the motor never comes into a situation where it will break.
Sure. Longevity.
With the energy management team that you have as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And what that did was that kind of touched on the whole time I had been in repair work, I always felt like I was just putting a Band-Aid on it, right? I mean, motor comes in burned up. It burned up. I probably know why. I need to make it more robust so that doesn't happen.
Right.
Instead of, because we couldn't touch the problem. The problem was still out there.
Yeah.
And we couldn't touch that. And so I thought, wouldn't it be great if someday we could get people, a team of people that could go out and just focus on that root cause, find that problem, and then come up with a solution for that. So we're not programming drives to not look at stuff. We're not adding turns or circular mills in motors to try to be tougher. We're fixing that right, and then we're taking care of the solution. We're providing a solution at the problem, and so that it'll stay running.
Yeah.
And that's what Energy Solutions does. And we just hit a home run last week with that team with Siemens. We're partnering up with Siemens, and we're going to see some good stuff come from that.
That's amazing. I mean, when was that? About 2 years ago?
Yeah.
About 2 years ago. Because I remember one of the very first presentations that you had, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, you guys are doing this. And I mean, if anything, I'm like, you guys are way smarter than I am on this stuff, and just see the graphs and, all the technology that you guys are using. And I mean, this is just, it's a group of guys putting this together and saying, we see a problem, we're going to give a solution to this.
Well,
I love it.
Not only that, but who's spearheading it? Who's doing the...
On the Energy Solutions
Yes.
side, so we have 5 people on that. There's Scott Bishop.
So where did Scott come from?
Yeah, I don't know. He crawled out from underneath this rock
This is the
someplace.
interesting thing about our company is that you build this pump division out of whole cloth. Basically, it was we sold $700,000 worth of pumps one year, and now we're selling how many? 7 years later, or 6 years later,
$30 million.
$30 million worth
In
of pumps.
7 years.
So you have this idea. Well, let's sell pumps. We sell them already. Let's get a little bit more serious about it. Then you're selling pumps. Well, let's clean up the power so that we can sell a solution for that. Well, I don't know. Do we have anybody here that would do it? Scott Bishop works for us already.
He just walked out. Yeah, he walked out of the warehouse in Spanish Fork.
He was working in the warehouse in Spanish.
Warehouse.
He said he wanted to go to the motor shop because we needed a winder.
Right.
And so he called me up. He says, hey, I love electricity. I love all that kind of stuff. I'd like to do it. So we talked to him and says, yeah, sure, go for it. And so he jumps right into winding motors like it's nothing. And as of today, I mean, he's built a data logging system that we can put on. We can check. We know current waves and voltage waves and phase imbalance.
But you find out that his background
is satellites.
Yes,
the guy
satellites.
freaking built
Satellites.
satellites.
That's what I was just going to say. I'm like, this guy, like,
And he worked in our warehouse.
See, I only knew him like from, he's a warehouse guy. And then he gets into this energy stuff, and I'm like talking to him, like, and I was interested. I'm like, where does this guy like kind of come from? And then he starts telling me his background. Well, he used to build satellites. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Hold on, time out.
But then that makes
what? You were building satellites, and now you're working. How did this all happen?
And that makes you wonder, like, what other talent is out there in our company that's working in a warehouse
God.
or working in another
absolutely.
position? That's what's fascinating to me.
absolutely.
It's like They're out there.
Well, and
we've got great people.
What's cool about Mountainland, though, is
there's going to be opportunities.
Exactly. We can give these opportunities to people like that, to a Scott Bishop that says, hey, we got this. And also, you can bring an idea too and show us like, hey, how is it going to help our ESOP?
Yeah.
And hey, we trust you. Let's go with it. It might have legs. Sometimes it doesn't, but this one is a perfect example of
one that did.
I can help with that. And here you go. Let me build you a machine that I can track all of this and I can figure this all out.
Now, disclaimer. Do not go up to Scott and ask him to explain it to you, because he will, and he's going to try and explain it to you as simply as possible, and that still goes way over my head.
You still won't get it.
Buyer beware.
My feeble mind cannot understand
that guy is a wizard.
And interesting on that, in the last week's meetings with Siemens, and we were talking to the gal there that kind of, she's quite the thing with the variable frequency drives for Siemens. And they just come out with an active front-end drive that's really kind of cool. And so she gets talking to Scott, but I walk up kind of mid-stride in this conversation, and I walk up just in time for her to look at Scott and say, "You scare me." And I'm like, you know what? I know how you feel.
Yeah,
this guy knows a lot. So we got some very powerful people, very smart, very capable people that, you never know where they're going to come from. And the things that fuels them, the things that just excites them and goes, and to provide that opportunity is pretty cool.
But then that continues to just add that value that you talked about at the outset. You know, when you went out into sales, you wanted to add value to every sales call. Now we're adding value to that department. So every time we are arming our salespeople with the power to go out with something that nobody else has.
Sure.
It's a product that is unique.
Yeah.
The product is the department. But you can sell that. You can sell that to a customer and say, listen, if Mountainland brings you a pump, we're not just bringing you a pump. We're bringing you an entire solution to your pumping needs.
Right.
And that doesn't exist anywhere else.
That doesn't exist anywhere else. And we add our other verticals.
Yep.
And we just expanded that.
Yep.
Because we have our HVAC guys are experts.
You just multiplied it.
Our ag guys are experts at what they do. And now when we start to pull some of the other experts from other verticals all working together,
the synergy.
It's going to be crazy.
Yep.
And it's cool to see. It's cool to see. I
It's
shared
exciting.
it one time in I was in a sales manager's meeting, and I was thinking, I thought Mountainland is like race cars, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you remember this
I remember
story.
this one, yeah.
Mountainland has a lot of race cars. And they got an ag race car and a turf race car, and there's a pump race car, and there's a drilling race car, and there's a lot of them, right? All these different verticals of race cars. And some days we get to work on the car. Some days we're just in the pit crew. Other days we might get to drive the car.
Yeah.
And it's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But the best days, when we're sitting in the stand eating a hot dog or drinking a Coke and cheering on our car down there.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter which one it is. It's our car.
Yeah.
And we want it to win, and we want it to be successful. That's the mindset I think that Mountainland brings. It just breeds that kind of mindset. And people are thinking, man, I want you to be successful, because when you're successful, I'm successful. And that goes back to we don't necessarily, the dollar sign is a byproduct. It's the synergy, it's the relationship, it's the camaraderie, we can call it, we label it as one, but it's all of those things put together that really make it great. And that's how it kind of works out. Yeah. To kind of go back maybe a little bit, if I can, in what we do in pump and drilling is a little bit different mindset. And I think that it's bled across over into some of the other verticals just from exposure. But it kind of goes way back. I know I've shared this story with you before, Joey, but there was an old guy that really taught me a lot, Dave Fish, rest his soul. He passed on. He was like a second dad to me.
Yeah.
He was a great guy. He was a salesman. When I first started doing the outside VFD tech support kind of stuff, he took me to my first groundwater show. So I'm at the groundwater show. I'm there. I have no idea what's going on. I'm sitting there. It's kind of, there's some classes going on, but I'm sitting at this table with Dave, and I'm just in awe. I mean, there's all these booths, there's all these people, there's all these products. Dave knows everybody on the planet. I'm just amazed. And I'm looking around, and then I look back at Dave, and he's staring right at me. And I mean, those little awkward stares. So I just like, man, nothing. I keep looking around, and I look back, and he's still staring at me. And I'm like, what?
You have a stroke? What's going on?
And he says to me, he goes, do you see what's going on here? And I go, what's going on? And he goes, you need to figure that out. You need to figure that out. So it took a long time. And so as I started thinking about it, the more I never forgot that moment. But in that, I went back and I thought, okay, who started the Groundwater Association? Well, the contractors did. The drillers started it. And why did they start it? Because they wanted to protect themselves, because nobody else knows about boring holes in the ground. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. And so they really understood their business, what they did. But they had government that was trying to get involved and regulate it. They had engineers, they had geologists, they had even manufacturers or distributors that were trying to push it around. Now, we know kind of why government does that. We know kind of why a manufacturer would want to do that, because it all comes down to regulating and making more money, right? Grabbing more market share. And so they wanted to protect themselves for that. And they organized themselves. And they did a great job of doing that. And it was functioned that way for a long time. Well, back in like 2011, 12, for 4 years, I was on the board for the Utah Groundwater Association for 4 years. And I remember going to those meetings, and I would sit in that meeting, and I'm thinking, man, who's on the board? Manufacturer, geologist, engineer, distributor, and there was one or two contractors. Well, wow, they've taken this industry has been taken away from you. Mm-hmm. Now the guys that are running the Groundwater Association were people that you were trying to protect yourself from. So way back then, I decided, sometime, somewhere, someone is going to have to be able to stand up and say, you know what, it's time we give the industry back to you. Because it's yours. You earned it. Your dad did it. Your grandpa did it.
Yep.
There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, and it's yours.
Yeah.
And so for me, as a distributor, what is my responsibility? It is not my industry. I service it. Yeah. I support it. I help those guys. I need to meet their expectations of what they have of me as a distributor. I have to meet those expectations. The industry does not belong to me. It belongs to them. It's theirs. And I think if we chop it all up and we look at it, I think you could probably do that in almost every vertical. We know who earned it. Remember when we did the We See Them thing? Yeah, I thought it was great because those guys, they earned it.
Yep.
It's them. They're out there doing it. We support and help and service them.
Yep.
And they have an expectation of us. So if we fall short of that, bad on us. Then we're failing.
Yep.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, if I gave that industry back and they were able to do their job better and their business function better and they were able to complete it because of the products or the services that I could help provide, then that's success right there.
Amen.
We turn the ship.
Well, and like you said, revenue is a byproduct of that success.
Absolutely.
Because the sales will always follow the relationship.
Yep.
If you could say one thing to somebody who's working at Mountainland right now about what it takes to be successful here or in life, what would you tell them?
Engage. I think everybody has a thought. Everybody has an idea. Engage with it. And when you do that, you'll take off. You'll get some traction. You'll go with it. You're going to have some bumps in the road. Believe me, I know all about bumps. I could write a couple novels on failure. I really could. But engage with your ideas. Engage with your dreams. Engage with who you are. And be consistent with that. I know you've heard me say this a bunch of times too. Don't segment your life. Be consistent. Be you all the time. You see me at work. My customers see me on the job site or at Walmart or at the ball game. It's me.
Yeah.
They know who I am, and I'm consistently doing those things that I believe in. Core values fit into that. Culture fits into that. Just who I am, because I engage with it, then it just bleeds out of me. And I think that, and I'm consistently doing that. So engage.
Authenticity is rare.
Yeah.
And being your authentic self, people are drawn to it.
Yeah.
In all walks of life.
I agree with that.
People are smart. They're perceptive. And so when you're not authentic,
they'll figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
They'll expose you for the fraud that you are.
And really, authenticity is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I like that.
I do too. I think Mountainland's full of people like that.
Yeah, I agree. When you're talking about race cars, one of my favorite movies is Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
When Carol Shelby gets up there and says, "I'm Carol Shelby, and I build race cars."
Yeah.
You're Jim Wankier. You build race cars.
So my favorite part of that movie is when he gets Henry Ford in the car with him.
Yeah.
And I honestly had a moment like that when we did our energy solutions thing, and you came up to me afterwards and he goes, "Okay, Jim, this is what Brandon says to me," which I didn't think it was that obvious about it, but you knew me pretty well this time because you said, "Jim, you never do anything without a reason. What do you need from me?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Brandon, I need you to get in the car."
He wanted to see me cry. My granddaddy can see this today.
And we took him.
I had no idea.
And that was last year, and we took you to the National Groundwater Show.
Yep, we did.
And,
You said, "Hey, I need you here. I need more from you." And I said, "Great. Tell me when." And they said, "Need you down at the National Groundwater Show." And I said, "Great. Give me the dates. I'll make it work." And we got down there, and I made it work, and had some good meetings with some vendors.
We did awesome meetings
That, I think
we're still reaping benefits from today.
So, but man, you're a phenomenal guy, Jim. So appreciative of what you've been able to do with the pump and drilling side, and ton of respect for you. You've heard this before. Some others have heard this. When we first started, I was the finance guy, and I remember I was the skeptic. I was the, what are we doing? And that first initial order of 250,000, no, it was 500,000, I think. And I was like, no, there's no way we're giving you 500,000 in product. This is just going to flop. It's going to be obsolete inventory. Well, I'll give you 250,000. And I think you sold it like within a month. And I was just like, hey, because you came back and you're like, I need more. And I'm like, dude, we just gave you 250,000. Well, I sold it all. Well, you did what? And I remember looking at that. I'm like, okay, how much do you need now? 500? Oh, how about 750? How about $1 million? Let's get this going. And because that for me, that was where that trust started with you. It's like, okay, Jim knows what he's doing. How do I don't want to get in the way of this. I don't want to be the barrier. I don't want to be the bottleneck. How do I support this?
How do I honor that?
Yep. And how do he knows what he's doing. How do we get behind that and keep pushing him forward and letting him keep going? And really, that's been our mentality with the executive team is, hey, how do we help this grow? And how do we give them the resources that they need to be able to continue doing this? And we do that. You were actually the proving ground for us in opening up really new verticals for us, finding the champion, letting them, delegating it to them, and giving them the authority to be able to kind of do what they need to do. We want to know what's going on because we have a responsibility for the company, but at the same time, giving you enough leeway and trusting that process, knowing that, hey, we got the right person in the right seat, and we got our champion, let them run with it. So you were really our first one that we really cut our teeth on, for my knowledge. I mean, we also had Geo.
Geo was first, but but this took off.
Yeah, this is taking off.
It was a little bit different level as far as personnel needed, inventory needed.
Well, it was a step. It was a step.
And there's a lot more SKUs when pumps are involved. Geo was a lot less SKUs,
but
less exposure, I guess.
But this whole thing, this concept of it, though, that's really, I mean, you're kind of the founding father of that, and allowing, because of the success that we've had. Then it's like, oh, we want to do a directional drilling. Okay, we can do that. We've had the model. We see how to do that. So a lot of the other successes that we see in the different verticals, the newer verticals, come from pump and drilling too.
Yeah.
So
I can see you guys have been really good about doing that too. And but I will roll back the thing. I remember when I was coming on, and Joey, you told me call Quinn Brown.
Yeah.
And I called Quinn, and my question to Quinn was, so are they really gonna let us do this? And Quinn says you got to jump on board on this thing.
Yeah.
And Quinn grandfathered it.
Yeah.
It was the first step, and I think with Geo, and then it was pumps. But now we got pretty good process.
So Quinn and Jim are the founding fathers.
Quinn and Jim, Frank and Francis.
Frank and Francis. There you go. I love it.
That's good.
But really, those are the two. And I mean, just Joey, it was a different resource level that we had to give to this than we did Geo, and it really pushed us to. Push us out of our comfort zone, push me out of my
learn
comfort
to trust.
zone.
Yeah.
And then that's where it's like, you know what, as a leader, I got to just trust. And we got to know that we got the right person in the right seat. And when they say, hey, this is happening, I need this, you got to trust it. Because if you don't trust them, then get them out.
Yeah.
Get the right person in the right seat. And anyways, for me, that was a learning experience. You've helped me along that path to say, hey, which allows us to do these other new verticals and any other new verticals that will come along. Find the champion, find the right person, and
do
trust
it better.
them. Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, kudos to you. Kudos to Frank out there as well. I don't want to forget you, Quinn. We do love you. But you guys are the founding fathers of this. And, man, you've brought a ton of success because of that to our company and to our ESOP. So thank you.
I really appreciate that, Brandon. Really do. Thanks, Joey.
This is when I say I love you. I love you.
Yeah, I love you too, buddy.
Okay, there you go.
I love you too, Joey.
Love you too, bud.
Hey,
Shorts.
Spencer, we love
you too, bud.
Love you guys.
There's a lot of love in the room.
A lot of love
today.
going
There's
around.
a lot of love in
Probably a
the room
good time to
I was
quit.
going to say, this is when we get out of here now.
Getting awkward.
It's getting a little warm and steamy, hot and
Yeah.
steamy in here. So,
All right. We want to thank everybody for coming along with us today and enjoy the ride. We'll see you on the next trip.
have
Thanks.
a good one, guys.